I'm going to drop a little nugget on you before we begin. Sometimes the strongest people you know have fought the quietest battles. And the truth is, mental battles don't always look like breakdowns. No, they don't. Sometimes they look like silence. It looks like functioning. It looks like smiling and surviving. But tonight, we're talking about what happens when God steps into that darkness. When God pulls you out, that testimony becomes somebody else's lifeline, right?
Why be somebody else when I can be me? Why be somebody else when I can be me? You're already taken, 'cause I'm in the making. 'Cause I'ma be me, I'ma be me, I'ma be me, yes sir.
I'm so good at being good.
There it is.
Hey, 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 what's up? Holla, squad. Forgive me. I've been yelling this whole weekend. It was one of those exciting weekends. Thanks be unto God. God was real life moving this weekend. And in the process of that, I lost my voice. So if my voice comes in and out, forgive me, y'all. But I'm still here to holler at you. So I want to tell you, welcome to the Hear My Heart show. Here is a place where faith meets real life and we heal out loud. This is a place where testimony ain't performance, it's survival. This is a place where people tell the truth about their valleys that God pulled them through. And if you're a part of the Holla Squad, drop a holla in the comment section so we know that you are here. And if you are new here, welcome home. Because around here, you are heard, you are healed, and you are here on purpose. All right. Got the elder here in the place. He is someone whose testimony is breaking the silence and is restoring hope. I got AP Julius Freeman here. He is the associate pastor at the New Zion Temple in Indy. And he is serving under Bishop Brandon A. Jacobs and Lady Vivian Jacobs. He has been in ministry for nearly 6 years and recently stepped into the pastoral leadership. Pastor Julius is also pursuing a Ph.D. at Purdue University in media psychology and political communication. He openly shares his journey through depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts, using his testimony to remind people that Jesus is able to save anyone and anything at any time. So with that being said, I ain't gonna prolong the time. I'm bringing my brother, the elder, APJ.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, that wasn't offensive, me calling you APJ, was that?
No, the Saints call me, get so many variations of AP, so it's all good.
Okay, I was like, wait a minute, I just called him that. I didn't even get permission. I'm
You are,
like, just because I'm a virtual saint, that doesn't mean I get to call you anything.
oh no, we're family. It's all good.
Yes, good stuff.
Yeah.
I am so nosy. I always ask every VIP, our very important praisers, uh, one question. And I'm so nosy. What are you thankful for in this season that God has you in of your life?
Wow. Yeah, that's a good question. I think for this season of my life, I'm truly grateful for peace. There has been a lot of seasons, many seasons in my life where I felt chaotic. I felt unclear. I lacked direction. But God, in this season of elevation and new assignments and clarity in terms of my calling, has given me a lot of peace. And so that's not to say that things still don't go wrong, that I still don't have days that are rough, but I
Mm.
have so much peace in those moments because I have an understanding of where I'm going and what I'm here for now. And so now that I have that clarity, I have a lot of peace. So I'm grateful for peace. I'm thankful for the peace of God.
Good stuff. AP, you about to make me jump and holler over here. I'm trying to hold my peace.
Hey,
It does
good.
not take me much,
You just
sir.
got started. We gotta wait at least until the benediction to shout.
No, church. You don't wait till the battle is over. You shout now.
That's right. That's right.
Don't start.
I don't know what
Don't
I'm talking
start
about.
me,
We
sir.
shout at any moment at New Zion, so I don't know what I'm saying. We shout at the drop
I
of a
love
hat.
I love it, yeah, because I think Sunday's praise, you was like, "Oh, yeah, you thought we was gonna leave home without getting this in?" Yeah, see, I'm telling you,
He
we be
tell me
serious.
that it's already done, that the Lord's gonna give me everything that I've been waiting on, and just expect me to do my little hand clap. No, I gotta put my feet on it. I got
Come on.
I gotta seal that. Yes, ma'am.
And kid you not, I love watching you dance. I'd be like, "Don't move the camera. Don't wait, no, he's going forward. Leave it there." And it's that little skip that you do
Oh,
when if the
I
skip
gotta
comes in.
I tell people that kick is my ignition starter. That's how I know I'm ready.
Listen here, I promise you that's what I say. I said, "If that kick comes out, oh, it's
Once
OVER."
Yeah, no, I can't just kick it. It's a starter for me. Once it's out there, it's done. It's a done deal.
It's done. It's over. See, I knew it. I knew I wasn't. Thank you, Holy Ghost. I
You
knew
in
I
the
was being
spirit.
strong.
You were. Yes, ma'am.
I absolutely love it. Thank you for confirmation. I appreciate that. Before we go any deeper, I want to tell you something. Uh, I want to say something personally for me. Your testimony hit home for me because I had my own battles of battling depression and anxiety, and even a moment in my life where I almost actually didn't make it. I actually went forward with the act and I almost wasn't here. So when you was preaching one particular Sunday and freedom was ringing within you and you shared your testimony, okay, I'm trying not to get all emotional, but
You fine.
I kid you not, I thoroughly appreciated that conversation so much. So this particular conversation with you, it isn't just coming from curiosity. It's not be I know I like to say I'm being nosy, but it's not me being nosy in this. This is coming from understanding. And is why I'm super grateful that you're here tonight. I kid you not, I really, really appreciate you. But you've been open about battling depression and anxiety and even suicidal thoughts for years. What was happening in your life during those particular seasons that people really couldn't see that had you in that particular place? Okay.
What was I going through that led me to the moment of that testimony, essentially,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
So,
Yes, sir.
yeah, I had been uh in school for a while. I had just finished my undergrad degree and I had started my master's degree. This is back in 2021. And I felt really good about what I was doing. I was starting a master's program at the University of Illinois, and I was really excited. And this is my first time ever living by myself because all through undergrad, I had lived with my parents. And so I was living by myself for the first time. And I'm originally born in Champaign, Illinois. So I had family there, I had close family friends. I was, in essentially and the thought would be that I was surrounded by a lot of support, and so I should have no problems, right? Like that was the idea. It's like, wow, I'm moving by myself, but I'm going to be surrounded by all these people who care about me. But what I didn't realize was how loud the silence would become when I was by myself. And I didn't realize how little time I would have for other activities while getting a master's degree. And so it started to become long nights and long days of just working and studying and writing and spending a lot of time by myself. And while in the beginning that was really nice, after a few months, I started to hear my thoughts in ways that I hadn't heard my
Mhm.
thoughts before. I think in the past, I was able to kind of suppress those thoughts because I could just get busy and do a whole lot of things and be around a whole lot of people. And I was living with my parents, so I was always around them. So I was never really alone unless I was driving in the car or something, but never for a really extended period of time, like days on end, 3 days at a time by myself, with minimal human interaction. And
Mhm.
so I started to hear my thoughts for the first time. And those thoughts were darker than I expected them to be. And so I started to realize, like I was saying, my mind was saying things to me like, "You're worthless. You don't need to be here. People's lives would be easier if you weren't here." Or people are going to find out one day how bad you really are, or how worthless you really are, or how lackluster you are as a person. And so these thoughts would just keep coming. And I was like, where is all this coming from? And what I started to realize was like I had always had struggles with self esteem, but I was able to press them down and push them down. Now I couldn't push them down. And the voice started to get louder to the point where it started to take over my life, where it was now, even when I was around other people, even when I was around support, even when I was around my parents, around family, I
Mhm.
could still hear the voice. And so it got to the point where the voice wasn't just saying that, people would be better off without me. It was telling me that I should do something about it. You might as well, you never owned a gun. You might as well go get one and make it easier for everybody.
Mhm.
Because it got to a point where it started to affect my performance in school. And so I wasn't performing to the level that I wanted to. And so it was like confirmation of the thoughts of like,
Mhm.
oh, you actually aren't that smart. You actually
Mhm.
are worthless. You actually have nothing to offer. People's lives would be easier. They would be less of a burden. Nothing about my life made me a burden. I actually took care of a lot of people in my life and still do, and was
Mhm.
there for a lot of people. But that's not how the mind works. It lies to you. And the enemy uses the lies of the mind to convict you and make you feel unworthy, make you feel unjustified to have the breath of life that you've been given. And so I started to believe it. And so there would be nights that I would cry myself to sleep at night, just hoping that, I didn't feel like I could kill myself. So I would hope that I
Mhm.
would die in my sleep. I would hope that something would happen. I would hope and pray that God would just take me, and take me from this misery, because it began to feel miserable, because it was like I would have these good moments, but I knew those good moments were only momentary, and that I would immediately, once I left that moment, go back into this place. I referred to it when I was giving the testimony while preaching as like a cloud,
Mhm.
that I could step out of that fog for a moment. But as
Mhm.
soon as I left that moment, I was back in this fog, this cloud, where I couldn't see anyone else. I couldn't see the clarity of my future, the clarity of what God was speaking over my life. I couldn't see or hear any of that. And it just got to a point where it became so overwhelming that I would, unless I had to be somewhere to teach
Mhm.
or to do work, I was in my bed and I was paralyzed, couldn't move, couldn't do anything. I gained so much weight. Um, from just eating, because eating was a distraction from the thoughts. I
Mhm.
became very lethargic, very lazy, in the sense of like I
Mhm.
would just sit and look at TV because hope that the distraction would keep me away from my thoughts. Um, and it just got to a point where if God didn't do anything, I wasn't going to make it. I was going to find some way to end it. And part of the way that I found my way to NZT is that I had started watching NZT when I was in undergrad, and it always blessed me. And so every Sunday, I knew that I could watch New Zion Temple, and
Mhm.
that would, give me some relief, some hope. And I would go to the first Sunday ignites. I would drive 2 hours to the first Sunday ignites every first Sunday in Indy, and because my parents lived there, and so I would stay with them, and then I would go to the service that night, and then I would drive home after the service, and
Mhm.
I would just dance so hard. I would praise God. I remember a particular service that I danced until everybody had left. The musicians had turned off the track and everything, and I was still dancing. And it wasn't
Amen.
because I just loved to dance so much. I was fighting for my life. I
Yeah.
was fighting because I just believed that praise would bring me some type of breakthrough. Because it had gotten to
Mhm.
the point where I couldn't pray, I couldn't really
Mhm.
read my word. It was just the thoughts would overwhelm me. But if I was able to get in the building, I had a
Mhm.
moment of freedom, and I
Yes.
could dance and fight. And so I would dance, hoping that dance, that praise would follow me.
Mhm.
It would follow me for some time, but it would always felt like it would come back. And so the testimony came when the Lord started to reveal to me what was happening in these moments. And that's why I preach from the book of Habakkuk, chapter
Mhm.
2, because it says that the just shall live by his faith.
Right.
Um, and what began to happen to me was that I began to realize that the reason I was still alive was because God had a purpose for me. That there was a reason that he still had me here, that there was something about me that he wanted to use, something about me that he wanted to get out of my life, something that was necessary for me to be here. And when he began
Mhm.
to reveal to me, it was like, yeah, you keep waking up. You realize
Mhm.
that that is me. You keep being able to do the things that you have to do. You got a master's degree with depression. You know, you've accomplished the things that you've set forth to do. It wasn't pretty. It was very ugly. It was messy. You almost
Mhm.
didn't finish the degree, but you did. And then you're now getting a PhD. Like it became clear to me that God was like, but you keep taking steps. How are you progressing when you feel stuck? It is
Right.
only by my power. And
Yeah.
it's so that's where the scripture that it's not by might, not by power, but by his spirit that
Yes,
we over
sir.
that we were able to progress. And so the testimony began to reveal itself that I lived out the testimony of that. Eventually the Lord began to reveal to me that weeping may endure for a night, but joy coming in the morning. And what
Mhm.
the Lord showed me in that is that that night, that weeping season
Mhm.
is something that we oftentimes feel like should be just a moment, but
Right.
sometimes it's a season. That weeping may endure for a night. Night might be a season for you, but
Yeah.
joy is in the morning. And the great thing is that in the same way that the night was just a season, the joy is going to be a season. And hope the grace and the joy of the Lord is that that joy season
Mhm.
when we stay and keep our minds in Christ, that joy season can last us a lifetime. And
Come
so
on.
now I have a faith that when I go through things, when I experience hardship, there's a faith
Mhm.
that I have now.
That as I was saying, and
Mhm.
so the Lord revealed that to me, that it was a season where I had to experience those things,
Mhm.
um, to bring me to a greater level of faith, and so that that testimony could speak to people like yourself
Yeah.
who find themselves in the same situation.
Mhm.
um, and it is often a testimony, as you can see in this very recording, that the enemy does not want to be heard, and so there's
Yeah.
always an active force trying to block it. I don't usually have these issues. I have great internet, but today of all days it wants to mess around. So,
It's a
but I'm grateful for, the testimony. And that's not something that I was able to say before, but it's
yeah.
something that I can say now, is that I'm grateful the Lord entrusted me with the
Mhm.
testimony of anxiety and depression and suicidal thoughts,
Mhm.
because as you said, there are many people like yourself who have the same testimony, who have either felt afraid or felt inadequate in their ability to articulate what they're experiencing and to
Mhm.
speak to the struggle. And
Mhm.
so now I get messages all the time from people telling me, like, hey, what you said when you talked about what you've experienced, I felt freedom for the first time in a long time.
Mhm.
uh, I mean, there were so many people at New Zion Temple Indy itself who came to me and said, I'm dealing with the same thing. And these were people who they said, I would have never said anything ever
Mhm.
if
Mhm.
no one had preached that, if you hadn't said that. And so now
Yeah.
people who kept these things a secret from, according to them, from their entire family,
Right.
no one knew, are now standing in the middle of the sanctuary
Mhm.
openly, where other people can hear, talking about their battle with depression, anxiety, and suicide,
Mhm.
and open and free to
Yeah.
say, I don't feel the bondage anymore. And that is the greatest gift that the Lord could give me for my suffering. That
Yeah.
He is truly, as the word says, giving me beauty for ashes,
Yeah.
and for the spirit of heaviness, He's given me a garment of praise. And so I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. Oh, I absolutely love that. Kid you not, that is something so freeing. That was something I hadn't even spoken to my husband about. So when you said that, we were sitting at the breakfast table, and at that moment, I'm talking about I'm just sitting there looking at you, and I'm just he was
Yeah.
like, "You all right?" And I'm like, Yeah. Yeah." I had to be like, I'm so used to being strong, right? Everybody looks at me as the strong saint. So I'm like, "Yeah, I'm all right. That was just a good word." And he's like, "Yeah, you ain't getting that over on me."
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah,
Why
okay,
does that
like, okay,
resonate so much? Yeah.
right. So I'm like, "You don't understand." All right. So this is what happened to me, and I'm just
Yeah.
bawling, and then
Mm.
you went over to Dave and you stuff, and I'm talking about, like, I felt freedom. I felt freedom in the room that was there, and it was just like an amazing feeling, and it felt really good for me also because that was something that I hadn't expressed in my marriage, that was a freeing moment too, so I'm talking about liberty was real life had. Not only from what you said, it was a freedom and something lifted off of me. Because again, everybody always sees me as the strong one, like, I'm just so and I'm always smiling, and it doesn't help me being called the people's cheerleader because I'm always encouraging somebody, I'm always pushing somebody, I'm always got my hand in somebody's back, and I'm the preacher's preacher, "You better preach, come on!"
Yeah.
But seriously, secretly fighting battles. So the fact that I was able to share that with him, he learned how to support me in a different way. So I sincerely,
Oh,
with all
wow.
not just from the bottom of my heart, with all of my heart, I real life appreciate you because that helped me seriously. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I'm
I really
glory to God, truly.
yeah, sincerely. How did your faith shift during that season? Did you feel like your relationship with God, did it feel stronger? Did it feel weaker? Or did it feel like it was like more real?
And during or after, once I had gone, is that,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
during, I felt like I had no relationship. I felt like I could go to church. And
Mhm,
what's interesting, what people I think should recognize, what you kind of just spoke to,
mhm.
I was still preaching, like at this point, I was already a preacher,
Yeah.
um, and was preaching, and was gaining more preaching opportunities. And so I was preaching at a church, in Champaign and some churches in that area
Mhm,
almost two, almost three times a month. I was preaching somewhere,
mhm.
um, and it became kind of, uh, disillusioning, where I felt like, am I preaching about something? Not that I had lost my faith, but I began
Right.
to question whether it was real. I was like, am I preaching about something that is real? Because I'm preaching to people with power and authority that God can save, God can heal, God can deliver while in bondage. I mean, I'm preaching that He sets the captive free while in captivity.
Yeah.
I'm preaching that He's a mind regulator and my mind is gone,
Mhm.
but He's given me enough sanity to be able to preach to other people while I feel like I'm in chaos mentally. And that duality of that contradiction, that paradox of living in a place of being s- used by the Lord, but feeling like you don't have access to the Lord is
Oh,
is jarring. And it was just a weird place to exist in, where it was like, clearly you're working through me because lives are being changed by the preaching and the teaching that you're doing through me, but
mhm,
my life is not changing. My situation has not,
mm,
moved in any significant way.
mhm.
And so my faith was at a low point for sure, where
Yeah.
I believed God to be real, but I think I had reached a point where I didn't know Him to be real,
Yeah.
because in that time it didn't feel like He was doing what a God would do.
Mm.
Um, and
Yeah.
so God had to show me what kind of God He was,
Mhm.
not just through a sermon, but through life. Um, and so my faith coming out on the other side of it, once He began to reveal to me why I was in that season, and once I had gone to therapy. That's another thing. I went to therapy once
Yeah.
I started my PhD, and that was really helpful, because I think some additional context, and I'm sorry to keep adding things in, but
Mm.
some additional context, I had a friend during my master's degree who had, lost his life to suicide.
Okay.
And then I had, a couple friends when I was a kid who had lost their lives to suicide. And then when I started my PhD, when I went for the visit before I committed to going to Purdue, I met a guy and we were roommates for our visit. And he and I became close friends and we started hanging out. And when we came to Purdue that summer before we started, I met his family and they were believers. And we talked about faith, we talked about God, and I met his brother. And this friend, his name was Chris, and we had such a good connection with each other. And we talked about how, hey, we're going to do this degree together. You know, we're going to finish this. We're going to support each other through this process. And we started, and about 2 months in, Chris stopped showing up to meetings, stopped showing up to class. And no one really knew why. So I had texted him because basically they had said that he was sick and that he was in the hospital. So I thought that he had like a bodily sickness that wasn't, mental. And so I texted him and checked on him and asked him if he was okay. And he said that he was doing better. And so he texted our group chat that we had of our cohort of all the people who came in at the same time. And he said that he felt like he was going to leave the program. And we were like, wow, that's, I was sad. I was like, man, I thought we were going to do this together, but, I hope he does what's best for him. And then he said, maybe a week later, he's like, after talking with the department, he's like, I think I'm going to press forward and continue. I thank you all for your support, all that stuff. And Chris was like a glue for our cohort. Everybody loved him. He had connected with everybody. And so we get an email about a week later on a Saturday morning. I wake up and people are texting me from the department and saying like, are you okay? Where are you? Call me when you get a chance. And I'm like, what's going on? And so I look and I see an email and it says, we regret to inform everyone in the department that last night, our cherished colleague and friend, Chris Melvin, committed suicide.
Wow.
And he had passed from his injuries. And it was so heartbreaking because I was struggling with depression.
Yeah.
And I had no idea he was struggling with depression.
What? And
he probably had no idea I was struggling. And so for maybe about a week, I struggled with guilt. Because I was like, man, maybe if we had talked, we could have helped each other. Maybe if we didn't live in this culture where that's something that you have to hide, we could have supported each other. And I remember that his parents reached out to me through text and email, and I couldn't respond to them.
Why?
Because it was so hard for me to think. There were only two people in that department that he had ever introduced his family to. That was our grad director, and that was me.
Wow.
And for him, I knew that was an intimate thing. And so every time I thought about him, I thought about them. And I just couldn't bring myself to communicate with them because I felt so guilty. I felt ashamed. I felt like I could have done something because they lived so far away. They couldn't have been there to cover him. But I remember the dad sent me an email and he said, oh, this got me. He said, I just want you to know that Chris had been dealing with this for a long time.
Wow. Okay.
And he said, this is nobody's fault.
Wow.
And he's like, I want all of you to feel free from any guilt that you didn't do anything. They were like, we tried for a long time to get him help. And they said, this was just how it turned out.
Wow.
And to this day, I don't think I've had a phone call with his parents, and one day I will, but that gave me so much freedom. And his death sparked my desire to be better. And so by going to therapy helped me unlock some things and uncover some things of why I felt the way I did. And then I was able to hear the voice of the Lord again.
Yeah.
And so those things that the Lord revealed to me came through doing the work in therapy.
Uh-huh.
And in that, that's how my faith was able to be restored. It was that in prayer, in reading my word, the reason I couldn't access it was because I was so blocked mentally, so blocked off emotionally. And that blockage was also blocking me spiritually from accessing the voice of the Lord, the heart of the Lord. I could not see past my pain. I could not see past my tears. And that's why I'm such an advocate for therapy,
Me too.
because it opened my eyes to see, like, okay, it's not that I'm worthless. It's
Mm.
not that I don't have anything. It's that I'm pouring from an empty cup.
Yeah.
And so I have to learn how to refill that cup. And once I realized that my cup was empty, not because I was uh, the issue, but
Mhm.
just because of life,
Mm.
I started to find better practices for how to refill my cup. And the
Okay.
Lord began to reveal to me, like, okay, this is why you went through this. This is what this was all for. And
Mhm.
so it came with a lot of loss. It came with a lot of sadness
Mhm.
that the Lord revealed that to me. But now my faith is so rooted that I
Yeah.
really do feel like that tree planted by the waters
Yeah.
that won't be moved.
Mm.
Um, that he is truly giving me a faith that is grounded in
Mhm.
who he is,
Yeah.
um, and what he's done and what I know that he will do. And
Mhm.
so now I have no doubts in him. That obviously, everybody has their moments where they're like, okay, Lord, what are you doing? I still have
Mhm.
those.
Mhm.
But that
Me too.
question, yeah, that question no longer comes from a place of doubt that the Lord can help, or
Mhm.
concern. It just comes from a place of, I just need some clarity. I just want
Right.
some direction on what you're doing in this season, what you're trying to teach me. I no longer feel like I'm being punished for something, or that's something that I did wrong. But
Mhm.
now I understand that it is the word says that the Lord chastens those who he loves. Um, as like a father chastens a son, chastens a
Mhm.
child. And
Mhm.
so that the Lord produced something out of it. I'm not saying that he wanted me to feel like killing myself.
Mhm.
But what I am saying is that the struggles of life, the
Yeah.
Lord uses for the good. And that was the point of that sermon, was that the Lord is the good in our life. And
Yeah.
that when it says that he will use things, that all things are working together for the good of them that love him and are called according to his purpose,
Mhm.
that the good is him, that the good is his glory, that the
Yeah.
Lord will use everything that you go through in life for his glory. And that is the victory, that is the hope of our life, that the joy of the Lord would be our strength in
Mhm.
seasons where we don't have strength,
Mhm.
that in seasons where we feel weak, he would be our strength.
Oh, okay. Have you been in church all your life? Because all these scriptures is just it's just bubbling up out your soul. I mean, I guess the word is really hidden in your heart, ain't it?
It's got to be, right, and then I grew up with a father as a preacher, and my
Oh,
grandfather was a preacher, so it's in my blood
yeah.
to have the word in me. Absolutely.
I got it. You must do Sunday school too.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, Bible study, all of that. And with Bishop Jacobs, you can't not know your word. He's going
Right.
to make you read and understand that word, especially as a preacher. You're not going to touch that pulpit if he
Mhm.
doesn't trust that you are in your word.
Right. Now that I could definitely see, hear, and believe, because I mean, from everybody that's came in there, and I mean, we watch Hammond too, Philly also. Okay,
Oh yeah.
I think if you guys open up another location, we're gonna watch that one too. Okay.
Amen.
However, I think anyone he puts up there, you gotta know it. You can't just be one of those them individuals that just find a ghostwriter and you just read it. You gotta know
Mhm.
it and believe it for yourself. I've seen that from him. I promise you, I almost feel like I know him for real.
No, and that's the spirit of him, is that he what you see on screen, what you see in the interviews and the videos, all the stuff that you watch, all the content that he's in.
Mm.
He is that person everywhere.
Yeah.
In the office, in the back rooms, his integrity to be the same person at all times is incredible, and it's why I call him my spiritual father. Why I look to him, because he definitely has set an example of
Yeah.
how you lead people.
Oh, I absolutely love that. That's dope. So you now stepped into this pastoral leadership
Yeah.
situation. How do you feel like your testimony shapes the way you minister to people who are even
Oh my
silently
goodness.
hurting?
Oh my goodness. Well, that is such a great question, and it I've been actually I was that's crazy that you asked me that. I was thinking about that this week
Okay.
because I see it so
Yeah.
much clearer now.
Mhm.
Like I can see people struggling.
Mhm.
Um, I can see when someone is saying the right things,
Mhm.
but they don't believe that.
Yeah.
Like, and I can see it at different levels because I was that. It's like I can
Mhm.
see it in a teenager,
Mhm.
and I can look at them and be like, no, that's not just teenage angst. That's not
Mhm.
just being a teenager.
Yeah.
That's depression. And I'm not projecting it onto them because
Mm-mm.
I know teenagers who are just got an attitude because they're
Yeah.
just a teenager. They're just going to have that. They're just
Right.
going to have that. Uh, but then I can see teens where it's like, no, that's deeper than that.
Yeah.
There's something off about them. And
Mhm.
because of the pastor role, you get to know people more intimately because I'm there with them at Bible study. I'm there with them at prayer. I'm there
Mhm.
with them for rehearsals. I see them during the leadership meetings on a Saturday. I
Yeah.
see them every Sunday morning. I see them every first Sunday night. I
Mhm.
see them every week. So I
Yeah.
get to know you pretty well, and
Mhm.
I can see it on you. And so that is the primary role of a pastor, is being able to have that intimacy. But now
Mhm.
my testimony gives me greater insight
Yeah.
to see beyond what you're showing me.
Mhm.
And so now I can look at, I had a conversation with one of our brothers at the church recently where I'm not going to say that I know he has depression, but I
Mhm.
can say that he's struggling with depressive thoughts, that he's
Mhm.
struggling with anxiety, because I was talking to him and he was saying the same things that I used to say.
Yep.
And so he was saying things like, I was like, how are you doing? He was like, I'm keeping on. The Lord is faithful. I'm
Mhm.
feeling, I'm doing the best that I can day by day.
Mhm.
I'm like, right.
Mhm.
Okay.
But how are you doing?
Yeah. I was like, okay.
Mhm.
So how's life?
Mhm.
He's like, life is going. I'm doing everything that I can to, keep moving forward. And I'm believing that God's going to do some great things. I'm like, great. Right.
Mhm.
So how do you feel about life?
Yep.
Things are going, and I'm working and just busy. I feel a little tired. I was
Mhm.
like, okay, why do you feel tired? I'm just busy, got so much to do, got so many things going on. I was
Mhm.
like, yeah, but haven't you always been busy?
Mm.
Yeah, but this season just feels a little bit more. I was like,
Mhm.
so you're saying that this season feels heavy?
Yeah.
Yeah, it just feels heavier, and
Mhm.
so there's some things that I think I have to pull back from, because
Mhm.
and I was like, pull back from
Yeah.
what's going on?
Mhm.
And they're like, nothing's going on, it's just a heavier season. But
Mhm.
why is it
Mhm.
so heavy? What is
Mhm.
it? And so being able to identify that in people
Mhm.
is such a gift that the Lord has given me, that this is the Lord using it for the good.
Mhm.
And so now I can use that testimony to catch people
Mhm.
before they get to where I got,
Mhm.
and say, like, don't mess around with me. I know what that is.
Yep.
And so
Mm.
before we go any further, let's talk
Mhm.
about that, and let's minister to that,
Yeah.
so that way we don't have to keep having this conversation where every time I ask you how you're doing, you give
Mhm.
me this
Facade.
textbook answer.
Yeah. Mhm.
Let's not do that. Let's not be churchy with this.
Mhm.
You
I'm
know,
concerned about you.
yeah, we don't have to play this game anymore.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and so with that, it also gives me a greater empathy for people who have mental illnesses.
Mhm.
because there are also saints who have real legitimate mental illnesses, bipolar
Serious.
disorder,
Mhm,
bipolar disorder, schizophrenia,
mhm,
major depressive disorder,
yeah,
major anxiety,
mhm,
clinical anxiety, people who have multiple personality disorder, those types of things. And so now I also have a bachelor's degree in psychology. So all of this has worked together. So I have the knowledge of the academic side, and then I have the experience of
yeah,
going through it. So I can see it and I have greater empathy. So I can see when someone overreacts to something
mhm,
or becomes hyper aggressive about something
mhm,
or is hyper vigilant or feels like people are always talking about them. I
yeah,
know what that is.
mhm,
I don't have to call that a demonic spirit.
uh-huh,
While it is spiritual,
mhm,
because everything is
yeah,
spiritual, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood,
mhm,
but against evil and
mhm,
principalities in the high places.
yep,
So I can be aware of that while also recognizing, but your high place is that you have a mental illness.
mhm,
Your principality is that you have a mental illness.
yeah,
And some of it has nothing to do with you. Some of it is caused by trauma. Some of it is caused by hereditary
yeah,
situations that your mama was a schizophrenic, so now
mhm,
you have schizophrenia.
mhm,
Or you had someone who used drugs, so now you have fetal alcohol syndrome that
yeah,
causes you to have outbursts.
mhm,
All of this stuff can work together to create a person who has some brokenness that's natural to them.
mhm,
And it's not an issue. It's just now we have to minister to that. And so I
mhm,
think sometimes we miss people because if people aren't normal, if people aren't putting on the facade, if people
mhm,
aren't dealing with the easy stuff, and when I say
mhm,
easy, it's like, it's easy to preach about fornication.
sure,
It's easy to preach against homosexuality.
mhm,
It's easy to preach against alcoholism. It's easy to
yep,
preach against drug use
mhm,
because many of those things you can see, they're
yeah,
visible,
mhm,
and many of those things are so prevalent in the culture
mhm,
that it's not a taboo thing to talk about.
correct,
But mental illness,
mhm,
especially mental illness that has been stigmatized in
yeah,
society, like schizophrenia, like
mhm,
multiple personality disorder, like bipolar disorder, where we just
mhm,
think people are crazy
mhm,
and we miss the fact that these are real people.
real,
we
mhm,
we lack empathy for them. And so these are the
mhm,
people who get put out of church. These are the
yeah,
people who you won't let serve on the ministry because they got a spirit on them.
mhm,
No, they
mhm,
have a real mental illness that they need
absolutely,
help with, that they need not only counseling, not only medicine, but
mhm,
spiritual ministry of someone who cares enough to sit down with them and say, like, okay, let's come up with a plan for how we handle things.
mhm,
And
mhm.
so to make a long answer shorter, uh, my apologies. Um,
No, please do not. I want to hear all of this because not only is it me, somebody needs to hear this
amen.
because that's the unfortunate thing is we don't create these safe spaces. And it's not just a you out there that creates safe space. It's not just a me out there that creates safe space. Someone needs to know it's okay because I'm also an advocate of therapy.
Yeah,
Therapy can help you get clear so you can hear what the Father for real is saying to you. Had I not gone to therapy, I probably would still be sitting here like, "Ooh, that wall is pretty. The wall is just gray." But like, "Ooh, the wall is pretty. Oh, okay. I can't get past the wall." So, I'm grateful that you're sharing this. Please don't feel like you long-winded. That is not the case at all.
no,
So, come on, preacher.
preachers, you give them 2 minutes, they gonna talk for 30. So, uh, but that's what it taught me, and that's how I've learned. How it's helped me in my pastoring is that because obviously pastoring is more than just teaching and preaching.
Sure
A
is.
minister can do that, a deacon can do that, any elder can do that, but pastoring is different,
Mhm,
um, because it's something that's set apart. In the book of Acts, the
mhm,
apostles talk about how the people were coming to them with all their problems and they couldn't deal with all of that. Like they said,
mhm,
we can't deal with the people's day-to-day problems. We've got to go across the world and preach the gospel. And
mhm,
so they
mhm,
picked 70 men who were strong and good and rooted in the word, who could be elders, who could be pastors in the community, who could help the people in their day to day. And so that's how I see my role in concert, in relationship with Bishop, is that he has 3 locations. He and Lady V have 3 locations that they're responsible for. They do have meetings. They do talk with people. They do have intimate relationships with members.
No, don't
But
leave out the 4th church. I'm in the 4th church.
and then one of the biggest locations, NZT Everywhere, are
Come
online.
on.
Our
Don't be
e-church.
leaving me out.
No, absolutely not. Thank you for correcting me. Thank you for getting me together. That with so considering all of that, that's thousands of people.
Yeah.
It is unrealistic to expect them, with all the things that they have going on, with all the things that God is adding to their hands to expand them for the work that they're being called to, that they can have an intimate relationship with each of those individual people. So the Lord gives us local pastors, gives us associate pastors, people who can work intimately in the vineyard with the flock and get that give people that extra personal touch that some people need, because some people do need that. They do need to be able to sit down and let someone hear where they're at, and then be able to minister that in the moment. Because preaching can break the shackles, and that's what it's called to do, to set people free, to bring about deliverance. But after the deliverance, what do I do? What's my plan? How do I walk through daily life in this deliverance? How do I walk out my deliverance? That takes consultation. That takes pastoral leadership. That takes shepherding. That takes structure. That takes work. That takes organization. And so the Lord, through my testimony, through my elevation, through my experiences, has equipped me and graced me to be able to minister to people, especially people who have mental illnesses or struggle with mental battles.
So you got a lot of titles. You like the elder. You are APJ. You the prophet. You the therapist. Like, I feel like I'm missing some. I know you are the shout coordinator. You and Q do that very well. I kid you not. I feel like I be calling all y'all names like I really go there for real. Like, I really go there.
And you do. And you do.
Like, real life there. But kid you, I feel like I'm missing. So I done said 5 of them, but so if I didn't call all your titles,
No.
please forgive me. But you got a lot. Do you ever find it hard to figure out which hat you got to put on? You're the therapist, I'm the pastor, I'm the shout coordinator, I'm the praise igniter, I'm the son. Like, is it hard?
It can be, if I try to compartmentalize all of them, meaning like I try to make them all these separate things. What I try to understand is that as an associate pastor or as an elder, it is my job to exhort the people to praise, to push the people to celebrate, to give God praise, even in seasons where you don't feel like giving God praise. It is my responsibility to be a therapeutic space. Though I'm not necessarily a licensed therapist, it is my job to create a therapeutic space in which people can feel free to take off the layers that they use to cover up what they're dealing with. And so I try to keep the titles as limited as possible, that I am an elder or a pastor who prophesies. I am an elder pastor who can create a therapeutic space. I am an elder pastor who can push the people in praise. I can preach as an elder pastor. I can pray. I can teach. I can do all these things, and that all these things are encompassed in one person. And so if I take it to the point where I have to start thinking about what hat do I have to be, or what type of person that I have to be, then I feel the pastor starts to feel separate from those things.
Okay.
But I don't see the pastor as separate from any of that stuff. That is all, that role is all encompassing. That in any given moment, I have to be one of those or all of those things.
Mhm.
You know, after a service, walking into the vestibule, walking into the lobby, seeing all the people, somebody's coming up to me, the kids are running up to me wanting to hug and wanting to talk about what's going on at school. So I become like a father figure or an uncle figure or a big brother figure in that moment. And then one of the mothers is coming up to me and telling me about how they want me to get married soon, and that now I
They
become
always trying to marry you off, ain't they?
always, and so now I become a son figure, and then I'm walking and a saint comes up to me and they tell me about how their brother is in the hospital, and so now I have to be a comforter and I have
Mhm.
to walk with them through that. Then someone comes up to me and tells me that they're struggling to find a job and they don't
Mhm.
know what to do. And so now I have to be a resource coordinator. Oh, so and so works at the state. They'll
Yeah.
help you identify where to get a job. And then
Mhm.
someone comes up to me and tells me that they're struggling with homelessness. And so
Wow.
now I have to be someone who's directing them to the right resources and finding and being spiritual enough to discern who is the right person to bring into this conversation, who
Mhm.
can actually help this person. And then I
Mhm.
have a teen who I see in the corner who's crying. And so now I'm
Mhm.
going to address that. And so now I have to become a support, a therapeutic space, a safe space. And
Yeah.
so it's like, hey, you go meet me in my office.
Mhm. Mhm.
Then I'm walking down the hall and I'm greeting the brothers and the sisters who are there at the church, telling them I'm happy to see them, that I love them, I'm checking on them. I'm being a pastor, an elder in that moment. And then I'm going to the office, checking on Bishop before he leaves to go to Hammond, making sure
Yeah.
that he's good if there's anything that he needs me to do. And so
Mhm.
now I've become a spiritual son in that
Mhm.
moment and also an associate pastor in that moment. And this
Mhm.
is all within the span of 7 minutes.
No,
So
Jack, that sound like that was about 4 hours worth of
right. And
yeah.
don't forget the fact that the media team is telling me something's wrong with the internet. So now I
Mhm.
got to be a internet provider and an
Mhm.
internet coordinator and solve that issue.
Yeah, 'cause
And
I don't get to see you behind the camera no
and
more.
then nope, and sister so and so is come and told me that she's got a problem with elder so and so because of
Mhm.
something that elder so and so said. So now I have to
Mhm.
have a meeting with elder and this person to reconcile that situation. So now I'm a mediator.
Uh-huh.
And so
Oh,
if I stop to think, and don't forget the teen is still waiting for me in the office,
mhm. Mhm.
and that
And they
and people
hungry.
and they're hungry, and people are texting me all this stuff, and some of the things they want to go out to eat with me,
Mhm.
so I got to be a
Mhm.
friend too. And then my mom is saying, "Hey, I'm ready to go home," like all this stuff.
Mom goes there too?
Yet my parents go there too, and so I
Oh.
usually take my mom home, and so all these pulling factors, and so if I ever stop to think like, man, which one of these things do I have to be? No, it's just be all
Mhm.
of them.
Be 'em
And let
all.
and so I don't think I let the Holy Spirit lead. And he usually is perfect in the moment of what I need to be in that moment. I don't
Mhm.
trust my own words, I don't trust my own thoughts, but in all
Mhm.
my ways I acknowledge him and he
Yeah.
directs my path because if it was on me, I would say the wrong thing a lot.
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
trust me, I get into some of these meetings and my carnal self is like,
Mhm.
you are the
Mhm.
problem, and I
It's
don't
you.
want to deal with you.
Yeah,
But the
seriously.
Holy Spirit in me is like,
Mhm.
no, you need to labor with this person. This it's deeper than that.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's
And I
deeper than that.
appreciate that you can be honest enough to say that because
Yeah.
everybody won't be honest enough to say that. They'd be like, "Well, you came to me. It's my show, and I'm gonna tell you, no, you need to." And you're like, "Hold on, wait. I know I say this is how I feel. All right, Holy Ghost, come on. I need you to work here." So I commend you for being able to
Amen.
you take down and allow God to really speak through you, that is amazing to me, so thank you for that, I appreciate
And
that.
it's so interesting because I thought that that's how the pastor role would work, that I would just gain all this responsibility and have to
Mhm,
become all these things and have to think so much. But it's
mhm,
interesting. I think less now than I
mhm.
used to.
Yeah,
Now I just go because actually I don't have time to think.
uh-huh,
Because before I could think the problem is right in front of me. The issue
mhm,
or the situation is right in front of me. And
yeah,
so I just have to trust. And so that's been that's the blessing that's come from being elevated to a pastor is that I gained this gift and this grace of a greater level of trust in the Lord.
Mhm.
And he comes through for me every time. And so I have this faith now that, you know what? I don't know what he's telling me to pray yet, but I know once I open my mouth, he'll tell me what to say.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I absolutely love that. Thank you for letting the Lord use you. So I'm gonna ask you this too. If you ever look at the word heart, you see it has ear in it.
Yeah.
So you have our ear. Tell us what's on your heart. If, or I should say it this way, what would you say to the person who feels like their mind is their worst enemy right now?
Mm.
You have our ear. Tell us what's on your heart. You got the final word.
Wow. Well, I guess I would take you to the word
Come on,
in
sir.
Hebrews chapter 12.
Uh-huh.
We see the writer of this talking about their faith and talking about the faith that the people of God need to persevere. In
Mm,
chapter 11, it starts off with, now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. And I know there are a lot of people struggling in their hearts and minds, and it feels like the weight of depression and the weight of anxiety becomes so heavy that it feels like there's no way out. And so you can't see it, and you don't have a direction for where the hope is going to come from.
mhm,
And the writer begins to walk through all the past things that the Lord has done for the people of Israel, for the Jewish believers.
mhm,
And he talks about Isaac and Jacob, Joseph, Moses. He talks about Rahab, Joshua, and Israel, and
mhm,
all these heroes of the faith,
mhm,
and basically lays out what God has done before,
mhm,
and to show that what God has done before, he can still do today. And what I love about it is that when we reach chapter 12, it comes in saying this. It says, wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith,
mhm.
who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. So our Savior went through this moment. He sees what is set before him. He sees what's getting ready to happen to him. He sees the cross.
Mm.
He sees the death. And he decides to submit to it. He decides to lay aside all the things that would hinder him from going for what God has called him to. And so how does that speak to those who are struggling with depression and anxiety? And how does that speak to me? There is a place in which we reach where it seems like faith is such a hard thing to grasp,
Mm.
such a hard thing to hold on to. What this scripture speaks to me and what I understand it to say is that sometimes the reason that we can't hold on to faith
Mm.
is because we hold on to the heaviness for
Mhm.
too long. We hold on to the weights and the sins, the things that comfort us. We hold on to the sedatives. We hold on to the distractions for so long that we can't hold on to Christ, and we can't hold on to our faith in him. And so my word to you would be to lay that weight at the cross, lay that weight at the feet of Jesus, that it is to cast your cares upon him before he cares for you. Because when you do that, you are able to finally lift your head and look unto Jesus, who is the author and finisher of your faith, meaning that he understands everything that is to come, and he has a perfect will and plan for you. And so the freedom that comes from depression, because the purpose and the heart of depression and anxiety is that you don't believe that the future is bright.
Mhm.
You don't believe that God has a purpose in store, and you don't know what is in store. And so it's hard to have that faith. But the great thing is that there's an author and a finisher. He knew the end before the beginning. He is the Alpha and the Omega. He is the author and finisher, meaning that he already knows where you're going. And so if you trust him, if you lay aside everything else and allow yourself to fall into his loving arms and allow him to carry you, he will begin to reveal to you, and I can testify to this, what it is that you are here for. And now I can say that all my fear is gone
Mm.
because I know who holds the future. And life is worth the living just because he lives. Because he lives, I can face tomorrow.
Mhm.
I have no doubt about the future. I have no concerns. Yes, I still get in my head. Yes, I still struggle with anxiety. Yes, I still have depressed moments. But in the same way that the depression used to hold me back from joyous moments, the depression now can't hold me back from joy. Joy is my preset. That is what I function in. That is what I smile in. That is what I walk in, is that I have the joy of the Lord and it gives me strength. So now when I go through struggles, now when things happen to me, now when things come to me, it's like, okay, I don't know what the Lord is going to do, but I know the Lord is going to do something. I don't know how it's going to work out in my favor, but I know it's going to work out in my favor. No longer do I question if God can help me, if God can save me, or will God save me.
Mhm.
It's just that I know that he will. It's just a matter of time. And so that's my last word to anyone who's struggling and feeling like they're losing their life to mental issues, mental anxiety, depression, is that wait on the Lord and be of good courage. For in due season you shall reap what you have sown. In the name of Jesus, I pray for you, and I'm grateful for you. I'm praying for everyone who finds himself in that season, because I believe that the Lord is the author and finisher of your faith. And if he lives, everything's going to work out.
And he's living.
And he's
Absolutely.
living.
And he is stepping. That is powerful. I feel like I don't even want to say nothing else after that. Well, yeah, let's take our offering and go home. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
playing. I'm playing. I'm
Yeah.
playing.
A seed of $20. All those.
There it is. Everybody go on there. I ain't got no NZT. I can't
Yeah.
put on the square or anything like that. I
Yeah.
can't put the QR code. That's what it's
Yeah.
called. I can't do
Yeah.
all that. But God bless your heart and your part. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Again, I'm not gonna say from the bottom of my heart, with all of my heart, I am super grateful for you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much for offering the platform to share the testimony and for all that you're doing, because I know that a lot of people are being blessed by this. And I've been blessed by your spirit and your encouragement. You're such an encouraging person, and you have such a light to you that makes it easy to open up and share this space. So I'm truly grateful that you gave me the opportunity to just speak with you.
Stop trying to make me cry. I told you I've been fighting this, sir.
No, thank
Cool
you.
out. I'm too tough out here. I gotta keep up my strength. Okay, no, I have real life learned it's okay to cry. And I definitely do. I kid you not, I definitely do. But there's a lot of memes of me out there, and I ain't trying to make crying one of them.
Yeah. Please check us out at New Zion Temple. We're on at 8:30 Eastern every Sunday morning. And so we always have a service. And then we have our 11:30 Central Time service for Hammond. And then every Monday night at 7:30, we have our Philly service. So if you're ever interested in New Zion Temple and how I got my testimony, I got it through my church. And so I truly believe that. And so if you ever want to find where the answer to life is, we believe that it's at New Zion Temple. So check us out.
Oh, absolutely. You gonna sing the song too?
What was
It is
oh
for July. Come on, see, it's the virtual saints. See the NZT everywhere we know that song. Y'all
oh
don't
yeah,
sing that in
oh
the house.
see, yeah, see, they don't sing that in the house. You know what? We need to get the song going. Every
Y'all
New
gotta
Zion
get it
Temple,
together. That's
every
okay.
New Zion Temple member needs to know that by heart. I
Hello,
believe it.
thank
I
you.
believe it.
Y'all, oh my goodness. I kid you not. The elder, APJ. This man is absolutely amazing. I kid you not. He has touched my heart sincerely. And I hope, it is my desire, it is my prayer that you were sincerely blessed by this too. I know I wasn't the only one that experiences some of the information that he has shared. I kid you not, for Tiffany Rochelle Wilkins. I kid you not, this conversation right here is why the Hear My Heart show exists. It really is, because there is someone watching tonight that might be silently fighting the same battle, and you needed to hear that you are not alone and that God is still in the business of pulling people out. Yeah, he is. I kid you not. Again, Pastor APJ, thank you from with all of my heart, not just the bottom of my heart, all of my heart. Thank you for being brave enough to share your testimony so that someone else can see that God still rescues people from the darkest places. And if this conversation helped you, I need you to do me a super huge favor, heart the show. Subscribe if you haven't already. Okay, please and thank you. And lastly, share this with someone who might need hope tonight. And Holla Squad, if you felt that, you know what you're supposed to do. I can't holla, not quite, but you knew what it is. God bless your hearts and your parts. Grace and peace, y'all.